Oh yeah, greetings and good tidings from one of my favorite spots uh, in New England. Done a number of videos here. I come here a whole bunch, right behind, you know, nearby where I work. We're out here in Essex County, Massachusetts, yet again. Same spot where I shot a video on some cool, part of a video on cool Cetaceae members. Same spot where you get a nice population of Liatris nova anglii. It's a nice conservation easement. State does some good work here, and you get a number of, not the rarest plants in the world, but some exemplary examples. Or I guess it's exemplary examples an oxymoron. Maybe it is. You get some real nice plants here. So I'll cut to the chase. What we're here to look at is a plant that I've never looked at here before. This lovely iris. So now, a little bit of background here. If you don't know, trying to come back to basics. Iridaceae, the iris family. It's not hyper diverse in New England. You've got a few species of iris, including one actually really rare one up there in northern Maine in the Maritimes. And you get a real common, all over the East Coast common species. The one up in Maine is Iris hookeri. That's the beach iris or a beachhead, whatever the hell they call it. And then the real common one, which actually I passed one, I think, unless it was just another one of these, but I don't think it was. Iris versicolor, which is the northern blue flag. You get that all over the Northeast Great Lakes. You also get this species here. All right, this is Iris prismatica. And, before I really, risk getting off topic, going on a rant, getting sidetracked by a different plant, irises are in the family Iridaceae. Probably already mentioned that. The other genus native in the family you get here in New England is Sisyrinchium, which are the blue-eyed grasses. And I'll be very, very blunt. The diversity of irises in New England is dog shit compared to the diversity of irises out there in the Middle East. Israel and Palestine have some beautiful examples. I've got a pen pal who lives out that way, and those are some of his favorite species to photograph. They got like 45 some odd species of iris out there, ironically including Iris pseudacaris, which is super rare where they are. It's an invasive here in New England. The yellow iris that you'll see, clogging up waterways here in New England, is super rare where he lives. Also, that's also the flower on the fleur de lis for you Quebecois friends out there. See, this is what happens. I'm already sidetracked. But in New England, Iridaceae, I can take them or leave them. This was a species that I was really interested in when I first got into botany, because I assumed it was really rare in Massachusetts. It's actually not. It's an S4 species here, which is generally considered to be widespread. S4 species typically aren't the most common thing in the world, but they're not exactly, their populations are generally considered to be stable. Usually it's, they have a specific niche habitat that they occupy, and it's the niche habitat, the degradation of that habitat that's causing issues. So there's a lack of available space for the plant to move, but when it actually moves into its niche, it does well. Iris prismatica, which is right in front of us, does seem to be, one of those plants. Generally speaking, and now we'll kind of get into the habitat of this a little bit. This is a coastal species. I'll put a little population map up. Does get a bit inland. Obviously, we're not in a coastal marsh right now, but those brackish marshes are where this thing can really do numbers. Again, we're on the North Shore here, so we're really not, we're 10-15 minutes from the ocean as the crow flies, and this will still move into a freshwater marsh. Generally speaking, it needs it open. All right. We'll contrast that with Iris versicolor in a second. So, not a lot of people are really putzing around in brackish salt marshes. So this species is generally just seldom seen for that regard alone. However, one of the state botanists actually put a pin up, not from here, but from the other side of this property last year. And in the intervening, months, or maybe it was 2 years ago he put that up, a number of observations on iNaturalist have popped up from around here. We're very, very far at the northern not the if you punch the species into iNat, we're approaching the northeast, and I'm probably giving the spot away, but a literal state botanist is a public pin of this species at this location. Actually, no, not this location. Actually, that was smart of me to pick this one, because actually where he pinned it's pretty far away on this property, but the Latris nova angli only grows here. Anyway, you're don't be, whatever. All my stuff's obscured anyway. Just pretend like you don't, whatever. I digress. This is not actually the spot where, they pinned this, but, there's enough rare stuff. I shouldn't even be talking about this. I might even cut this out. Anyway, if I did cut this out, what I am now saying is this is a publicly known spot for this to grow. A state botanist came through, posted a pin near here, and now, some people have made subsequent observations of it. On an iNaturalist map, this is pretty far northeast for the species to occur. However, based on, just looking at GoBotany, there's some disjunct populations that get pretty far up there in Maine, yada, yada, yada. I digress. Okay, so now a little bit of brief taxonomy of this species is that irises are in the family Iridaceae, that is in the order Asparagales, so your same order as Asparagaceae, yuccas, agaves, asparagus, your nolinas, your mianthemums, your dracaenas, your orchids are in that order. A whole myriad of fascinating and beautiful monocots. All right. So now irises are widely planted out as like horticultural species. This, I'll be very clear, is a native species to, I'd say more so the eastern coast of the United States, not really the Northeast. It tapers out just north of here. It's in New Hampshire. Allegedly, it's like disjunct in Maine. I think I already said that. But this species is interesting. So all three native species of iris in New England look very freaking similar. I'm seeing this one for the first time, and I'm now realizing, it does actually, the gestalt is quite different than Iris versicolor. Iris hookeri I can't comment to, because I've just never seen the thing. I think it has, I've never seen the thing. I can't really speak to it. But this and Iris versicolor do superficially at first blush look very, very similar. Interestingly enough, I now understand Iris versicolor to actually be a notho species, meaning it was basically, it is of hybrid origin between Iris hookeri, the beach iris way up in northern Maine and the Maritimes, and Iris virginica, a species that tapers out, I want to say, in like Jersey, New York area. So Iris versicolor, which is widespread around the Northeast, is the child, the legacy of two species that no longer grow anywhere near each other. You get that quite often, especially with some of these like lowland coastal species in New England. Eupatorium nova anglii, which is not at all related to irises, just a species in Asteraceae, has that same exact thing going on with two species of Eupatorium that no longer grow together. So, yada, yada, yada. This is Iris prismatica. It's actually not as closely related to Iris versicolor as Iris hookeri would be. And let's get, 8.5 minutes is long enough. Let's get into the morphology of this thing. So irises in many plants in the family Iridaceae are sharing a few interesting things in common. So the first thing I want you to notice is this little crown of, I believe that these are, mosquitoes on me, I believe that these are called the standards. So these relatively unremarkable little crown up at the top, those are actually the petals on the thing. What is showy on an iris, and these I think are called the standards, are these lovely purple to yellow sepals. So again, these are the sepals, these are the petals, and then what's especially fascinating, we got a little looks like a honeybee going in to pollinate it, are these things right here. So what this is actually a heavily modified anther filament. And if you tip this over, or go underneath here, you'll find your anther right there. So there's this is the it's a heavily modified stigma. So there's your there's your actual stamen right there with the anther. If the thing would actually get into focus for me. There we go. So what I have in my hand, this is the stigma, and then what you see up at the top, that's the style. That's the female receptive part. So what goes on when irises are doing the nasty, this pollinator is going to land right here on the sepal. He's going to crawl up inside. Before he gets dusted with pollen, or she, or they, get dusted with pollen on their back, they're going to deposit whatever pollen they already have on the lip of that stigma right there. So that's the general morphology. That's what they're doing. Fruits on these are real distinctive too. If it was in fruit, it'd actually be very easy to tell which is which. Ironically, typically flowering is what you want to go off of. This has very charismatic triangle, fruits, and then iris versicolor has a fat round fruit. So here's a few more of them. Irises, as could be expected from a monocot, they have unifacial, so these sheathing grass-like leaves, much thinner and smaller in stature than iris versicolor. And yeah, this is one of the general habitats one could hope to find them in. Got a whole bunch still in bud there. Little patches of leaves for these things everywhere. Seems like a pretty healthy little pocket. There's one right back there. And again, I've been here a million times. I never noticed them. I've never been here in June though. Irises are not, necessarily ephemerals. They're early summer bloomers. But yeah, here they are. Here's them coming out of just beautiful at any stage of their development though. I just wish there was some more diverse. Oh, this one's done. Okay, so actually, yes. So that would be a definitive. Ovary on iris prismatica. Yeah, if this was iris versicolor, that'd be fat and round. All right. They come out of like this little. Oh yeah. There was no doubt in my mind, but now I can actually explain what I was talking about. So iris versicolor, they're usually not emergent aquatics, but they like it near water. So I'm surprised to see these here. But then again, you look at all the ferns around us and what these ferns are. Transition away from the iris. We'll say thank you, and it was nice to meet you, the iris prismatica. We'll briefly turn our attention over to some of these ferns, which you've got here. These are the fertile fronds just getting ready to go. These ones are not ready on the top, ready on the bottom, of Osmunda regalis, one of the most basal extant lineages, Osmundaceae, Osmundales. Osmundales is the order, Osmundaceae is the family of what you would call I can't remember now. Basically, when you think of a fern, you're thinking of leptosporangiate and eusporangiate. Now let me think this out real quick. Eusporangiate means more than one. And leptosporangiate, okay, so yes, the eusporangiate ferns are the older ones. Those are your horsetails, your moonworts, your rattlesnake ferns, and then your meradioid ferns, which you don't get in New England. And then you have all of your other, quote unquote, regular ferns. This order, Osmundales, which is represented by relatively few but widespread species around the globe. Like this species here, Osmundum regalis, if I'm not mistaken, occurs in Asia too. Same exact species. It's just been around for long enough to have gotten around. I digress. Very, very basal on the evolutionary tree of ferns. So, you're looking at your fern phylogeny, your horsetails break off, then your Ophioglossidae ferns, your moonworts and whisk ferns break off, then your meradioid, your potato ferns break off, and then finally you get to these, the most modern lineage of ferns, which are the leptosporangiate ferns, which I'm not going to get into the whole anatomical difference of what differentiates the two, the eusporangiate from the leptosporangiate. And then this is basically that first exit on the highway, before you get into like all, your bracken ferns, all the ferns I've been talking about lately, Asplenium, Chilanthoid ferns, your quote unquote regular ferns. So you get this one, Osmunda regalis, And then you can usually see all three species growing together. I don't see Osmunda claytoniana anywhere around here, but this is Osmundastrum cinnamomium. And those are the fertile fronds. These are the vegetative fronds. So you usually see these two, not growing too far from each other. And then Osmunda or Osmundastrum. I can't remember if it's an Osmunda or an Osmundastrum. The interrupted fern is the other one you get, where so this one has these like multi-branched fertile fronds, the sporophytes, if you would, spore-bearing leaves, this. I mean, you can't really mistake the leaves of Osmunda regalis for Osmundastrum. Fertile fronds have a different general gestalt to them, and then the interrupted fern has the same general look as Osmundastrum cinnamomium. But what you'll get, a friend, he fell off of me, is like its name suggests, the actual sori will be in the middle of the sporophyte. So you'll be going up the thing, you'll get some green leaves, you get some leaves that look like this, you get some more green leaves. That's the interrupted fern. And a common name I don't actually disagree with, It's like a little savanna-like area. You get a ton of oaks growing in here. Like I said, some really cool asters come up here in the fall. Oh, what's this? Oh, is this like a wild yam? Is this Dioscorea? This might be a wild yam. I'll have to take a picture of this. Could be another fascinating monocot. I'm not too sure. Another Dioscoraceae is the family. It's in Dioscorales, another weird order of monocots. You don't really see much of them in New England. What is it? Unicorn root, whatever the fuck they call it. It's in the episode about Malaxis bayardii. It doesn't matter. God, we're gonna have like a 20-minute long cut to film, but I had a lot to say. You get your Lysomachia quadrifolia, Lysomachia quadrifolia. Even though this one's only got whorls of 3 leaves, this one looks more normal. Flowers are going to be popping out on that guy shortly. And again, tons of cool asters in this area, in the fall. This guy's everywhere. One of the predominant plants. I'm surprised he's not in full bloom yet, but I did see some. This is bastard toadflax, cool hemiparasite, probably stealing some nutrients, from the grasses and from the asters that grow around here. It's in the same family as some people put it in the same family as like the mistletoes, the epiphytic ones, which is fascinating, but it obviously grows terrestrial. Another plant you can see growing around the world, if you get the right climate. But we'll cut it off here for now. Back through the woods, I swear to God, I walked by a patch of Iris versicolor, so we can compare and contrast them. And I got sidetracked for a second there, but the fact that you do get these ferns here is an indicator. Even though these will grow out open in what appears to be dry, the gradient of this field does slope in this direction. And there's a wetland right through the woods there. So it's dry, but it's also New England dry, which is, not dry at all. So we'll take a pause there. Okay, hang on a second. Oh, lots of poison ivy too. That's nice. Take a pause there. That's what the open flowers look like in the bastard toadflax. I'd even say the scientific name, Commandra umbellata, is the scientific name there. So we'll cut it off there, and we'll go take a poke. Oh, so this, so not what I thought it was. This is actually a species of Smilax. This is Smilax herbaceae. This is the one that doesn't have, thorns on it. This is a carrion flower, which usually, what threw me off is usually they're much bigger than this. But Smilax, so related to the greenbriers. Just wanted to correct my mistake there. All right, and in this habitat, which is much more typical of what I would expect for Iris versicolor, we in fact have a single blooming individual of Iris versicolor. So, pay attention to the difference in habitat, but do keep in mind that Iris prismatica is growing in that clearing, right through there on the left. This is a much larger plant here in the shade. These leaves, while still being unifacial, which basically just means like sheathing, like almost like I don't even know what to describe that as. Almost like I mean, like an iris. That's how I would describe it. In fact, if I saw a plant that had leaves like this, and you know, I didn't know what to call it, I'd probably give it the species epithet iridifolia or something. But they overlap. I don't know how to. I don't really know how to say it. Some people said like there are one-sided leaves, which, okay, I see what your argument is there, but nevertheless, this plant is easily 2 or 3 times the size of Iris prismatica, growing in the shade, growing in a much swampier habitat. Here's the flower on the thing. I did a whole plant spotlight on this exact species too. It's going to have that same general morphology. This one's a little, what happened to this guy? One of his little style got knocked askew there. So it's still going to have, you know, your 3 petals up top, 3 elaborate sepals down below. These sepals are much fatter. Still going to have that, still going to have that stamen down there underneath. It's still going to have your stigma and this elaborate style up top. And this one's not far along, not as far along as what we saw out there, but you'll make note of the lack of triangular, you know, shape on the ovary there. It's not being, for lack of a better term, like sucked into the shape of a triangle. Rather, it's being pushed out into the shape of an oval. If there was one that was further along, that would be a little bit helpful, because I've seen pictures of the 2 ovaries together side by side, and it really is obvious. It's in pictures they look almost identical, but keep in mind this is not as closely related to Iris prismatica back there as it is to Iris hookeri, which grows nowhere near this. You know, different cohort of species. Of course, you still got Osmunda claytoniana sneaking into the mix there. Coming up with Symplocarpus foetidus. Coming up with just a ton of poison ivy in here. Some manner of a nettle, Urticodioica, probably non-native, but you know, we get some native nettles. And then this cool, don't let the linear leaves don't belong to this guy, but some cool apiaceous plant, maybe a Siam suave or something. No, that's water parsnip, maybe cow parsnip. I forget. I don't know my native Apiaceae nearly as much as I should, but unmistakable as a member of the carrot family. Umbels of white flowers, heavily divided leaves. Some of these are quite toxic. I'll have to get back to you on what this species is. Coming up with, God, the bugs are really atrocious here. What appears to me to be perhaps Chelone glabra, perhaps a white turtlehead. We'll take some pictures. We'll sort all this out, but I gotta get out of here. Mosquitoes are eating me alive. So 2 species of iris, some of their notable associates. And, you know, these are the 2 that you get in southern New England. You go up north, you go up to like Acadia National Park, you go see Iris hookeri. But like I was saying before, Iris hookeri, Iris versicolor, Iris virginica, Iris prismatica, all of these like East Coast, especially Northeast iris species, they all kind of look the fucking same. Still fascinating. I mean, beautiful plants in their own right. Don't let that take that away from them. But from a, you know, kind of like exploratory navigating, from my perspective, it's not something I necessarily, you know, always want to talk about. If I make an episode about Iris hookeri, that'll probably be the last time I ever really, you know, go in depth about the genus Iris, unless of course, you know, for whatever reason I want to go through the trouble of making a whole movie. But then you know, whatever. I like them. I appreciate them. I like them, but there's not that much diversity to explore. So anyway, hope you got something out of that, if anything. Always love coming here. Beautiful mosquito-infested habitat. Unfortunately, mosquito-infested. So we'll cut it off there. Take it easy. Yeah, I'm in no rush. You know, there's a beautiful viburnum right in front of us. I believe that this is it's one of the arrowwoods. Somebody was getting on my case about this. Between, you know, I only know Viburnum dentatum. The Flora nova Anglia I only recognize as one species of arrowwood called southern arrowwood, but I guess there is you know, a split between them. There's a couple of subspecies of this. So Viburnum dentatum, which is how I know this, you know, has its umbels of flowers, which, by the way, these flowers smell like ball sweat. They smell vile. Attract a ton of, you know, really cool pollinators, and it's a beautiful plant, but the flowers, when you really get up in them, smell horrible. Anyway, you know, you've got your opposite leaves. So, you know, opposite leaves at the node. And I guess the difference is they're always going to be nice and smooth on top. But then somebody was saying to me, okay, so there's dentatum and recognitum. And then basically the difference is one would have hairs on the backs of the leaves, which this one doesn't. And then one is, you know, completely bald like this one. I am under the impression that that's Viburnum dentatum, completely bald, and that Viburnum recognitum. There's another one, Raphesquium. I can't get them. There's a whole bunch of viburnums in New England. Some of them look really similar. There's some non-native species too, further complicating things, and I believe that they even hybridize. Where was it going with this? But anyway, you know, I come out, smells divine here other than that plant. You come out, you know, I'm in no rush. Everybody's trying to scream to get through rush hour traffic to go, you know, sit on their ass and watch, what is it, Netflix? Do people still watch Netflix? Oh shit, okay, cool. Look at this. Remember I was talking about this Osmunda or Osmundastrum claytoniana, the interrupted fern? There you go, that's an interrupted fern right there. So you see, green, sorry, those aren't dead leaves. Those are the spores, those are the reproductive structures, and then green. And not all leaves on the thing will have that. See, this one's all green. That's just a vegetative leaf. That's a sporophytic leaf. So it's still dimorphic, even if it doesn't look like it at first blush. See, that's why I always keep these things going, because I can always find more stuff when trying to get out. And I'm like, ooh, there it is, there it is. But yeah, I could be, you know, rushing home to go sit on my ass, watch Netflix. Don't get me wrong. I do my fair share of sitting on my ass, but I also do it at work. Yeah, that's a nice, that is poison ivy. That is Toxicodendron radicans. Look at, we're standing right underneath it. See, it's got its flowers out. You know, quite the benefit to wildlife. It's not a bad looking plant either, too. We just associate it so heavily with giving ourselves a rash. And I mean, you know, even if I walk through it sometimes, here's a pro tip, carry rubbing alcohol on you. Carry rubbing alcohol on you, or if you're like me, you probably got a bottle stash somewhere, and then rub yourself down. Doesn't matter. I think isopropyl probably works better. Don't drink isopropyl alcohol. But if you've got a bottle of just like ethanol, like 70%, you know, the stuff, well, actually, you use isopropyl to clean, you use isopropyl to clean your pieces, to clean your bong out. Whatever the stuff you've got sitting around to clean your bong out, throw it in your car, or go buy a bottle at like $2 at Market Basket. Keep it in your car. If you happen to walk through poison ivy, which I do all of the time, you rub some of that on you. It denatures the urushiol, and you'll still probably break out a little bit because you'll rub some of it around, but it'll clear up like 85. It'll make it bearable. It'll make it very bearable. You got to do it right after you come in contact with it. You know, I guess still got my work clothes on, my long pants, so I'm not that worried about it now. But if usually I'm in shorts, if I know I walk through it, I keep that in my bag. I come out the thicket, pour some on a little, you know, keep some extra fabric with you too. Pour some of that on a little bandana. You should have it on you too as an antiseptic, just in case you get a cut. You know, the amount of people walking around here unprepared, especially this, oh God, I'm gonna go on a whole freaking tangent there. The Flatlanders this time of year. Oh, it was 80 degrees in Boston. It's actually hot as fuck right now. Oh, it was 80 degrees in Boston. I thought, you know, it would be nice and you know, a great day to go hiking in the White Mountains. And then you get people freezing to death, dying of hypothermia in like the middle of June still up there. I mean, you could die of hypothermia any day of the year up there. But anyway, Toxicodendron radicans, beautiful plant. Just a shame that humans, just via a mere fluke of evolution, a lot of us carry an antibody, which makes us allergic to it. Some people don't. Cool guy on Facebook, I just was reading through his stuff, actually breeds cultivars of poison ivy. Some of them very beautiful, very interesting to know. More interesting than cultivars of hydrangeas and roses, you know, whatever. And then it's often maligned, frequently, you know, seen together, but innocent co-conspirator. You get Parthenocissus cincifolius there. You know, people get the pentate leaves confused with the trifoliate leaves. I guess the leafination, there's something to be said about that leafination looking kind of similar, but this is completely harmless in the grape family. Although people love ripping that out too, because it's going to strangle your trees. It's going to strangle your trees, and it doesn't. Very rarely, if your tree's getting killed by Parthenocissus, by Virginia creeper as they call it, you've got bigger problems at hand. In any case, I think that really, really does have to be it. Surprisingly long. I hope that this proved to be of some value to you. Take it easy.